Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome back to EVE Talk, your weekly look at the market in EVE Online. And EVE Vegas is going on at the moment. Now unfortunately it's in the United States, so it's at a bad time for me. And there is not really a CCP live stream. I know that the Mitani.com is trying to stream stuff, but I'll have to catch up on all of the information there, try to gather everything and then start talking about everything, I think. But one thing I already saw, first person camera view. That is going to be absolutely awesome for making videos, I think. And it's great that CCP is actually also working on all of the camera options. From what little information I got, that definitely got me excited, I should say. We are here for the market, of course, so we will jump right in with plex. That's at 55 seconds. And you can see that they've gone down a little bit, but that is to be expected. There is a special plex sale going on during the Crimson Harvest, so there will be a little bit of pressure on plex price. You can see here double spike up to 1.25 billion. Here we're going down, crossing the 30-day moving average, but we know exactly why this is. This is because of the special plex sale that's happening at the moment due to the Crimson Harvest. So the question is, will this last long enough? I do think that this special action for plex will last as long as the Crimson Harvest lasts. So this could put quite a bit of pressure on the price of plex, and maybe we'll actually have a serious pullback now, because as you can see, there's quite a few of them coming to the market. Now that they're more affordable, people just buy plex, try and get the ISK out of it. But will this mean a complete turnaround of plex? It's doubtful that beyond the sale there will be an actual change to the plex dynamic at the moment. At least that's my feeling about it. It does mean that I personally did go in on plex at the wrong time, but that's EVE, that's the market, so we'll see how everything works out. Let's check out multiple pilot trading certificates. Those mirror plex, of course. So they're doing pretty much the exact same thing. Here's the pilot's body resculpt also dropping down. So there could be some correlation between plexes and pilot's body resculpt, although as we've also seen, they tend to do their own thing a little bit. It's a much smaller market, it's its own little niche. So okay, we'll keep checking it out. Here we do see this big decline. Could be because there's also people that are buying plex at a cheaper real life money price, actually converting that to Aurum, and that there could be some activity and some decline as a consequence of that as well. So next up, let's check out the minerals here. That's at 310. And there's been some weird stuff here. We know that Tritanium has basically not moved over the entire week. We're still at 611 with a decently big sell order of almost 400 million. The other sell orders are pretty big as well, but it's the only recent ones are right here, pretty big in numbers. But we don't see like an entire front page of new orders either. On the demand side though, you've got quite a few more new orders, including 1 billion units being bought here for 579. So I would say that this is looking decently healthy in both supply and demand, and that there is a good chance that we'll start moving sideways around the 6 ISK price mark for Tritanium. Not bad, you know, as you can see here, Tritanium went up from 520 to 620 in about 2 months, and now a little bit of a pullback is normal after such an increase in price, and it's all looking pretty good for stability at this point. Of course, Citadel information could change that, but I need to catch up on all of that information first. Next up here is the pyrite chart. That one is actually going up, bouncing off of the 11.2 price mark. That's pretty interesting. Take a look at supply demand here. That's an older order of 1.3 billion units that's being sold at 1150. That could be what's keeping the price from breaking out above 11.5. So that still needs to be absorbed, but as you can see, we're not seeing any new supply coming in. So I think that people are waiting for this to be absorbed and waiting for the price to go a little bit higher The buyers are at almost 11, so that's only 0.5 ISK in between there, very small margin, and people are just still trying to snag up these cheaper pyrites. You can see that there is definitely strong demand, a lot of recent orders here with decent numbers as well, more than 1 million here, there, and here again almost 100 million units as well. So I would say that Pyrites just needs to chew through this big sell order right here, and then we could actually see some dynamic where it will either move up if there is indeed way more demand than supply at this price, or it could start moving sideways if it is caught in the stable period that I think could be happening to the other minerals at the moment. Here, Mexalon, you can see very similar to titanium, went up substantially in 2 months, up to 70 ISK, dropping back a little bit, and at the moment sellers are at 64.24, buyers 62.02. You can see pretty narrow gap there once again. Sell orders coming in, you've got a few decent ones here, 30 million, 10 million here on the buy order side. What's recent, pretty much the entire front page here again. So strong demand, decent supply starting to come in. But because of the very high price, of course, we had this little bit of a correction. And again, I do feel that this could indicate that Mexalon is going to start finding its price, probably just above 60 ISK, something like that. And that will start moving sideways from there, again barring any drastic announcements from CCP. Let's take a look at Isogen. Again, very similar here, although started its increase in price a little bit sooner than the other ones. Went all the way up to, well, 127, something like that, now dropping back off a little bit after that increase in price. Let's take a look here at the new supply. 14 million, 29 million, and the other ones are a little bit smaller, but it's still decent in size. It's also decent in number as well for recent orders. And here on the buy order side, you don't have that many recent orders. So I would say that Isogen still has a little bit of retracing to do here, and I would not be surprised that it will actually settle in the 110 to 115 price band. But again, all of this, it's no longer okay. It's clearly demand that is still taking over, increasing the price here. Everything is trying to find its price point. But for Isogen, considering the numbers, I think we actually have to go back down a little bit more than what we've done already. Next up here, we've got Noxium, which was at the bottom and is finally showing a first sign of trying to crawl out of that. Are we reaching 500 on the sellers? Almost. You've got one last seller at 498 and then you 512. So it does look like Noxium could finally be pulling out of this rut. How long will that last? That's always difficult to say. You can see that it tried once before, a second time here. Now it went back down to its bottom again and it's pulling off of there. I do think that people recognize that that can be a good opportunity. Start buying a bit of Noxium at below a certain price, and that this is what we're seeing here. But this does not indicate any change in the fundamentals, and it could be that if the price goes up like 10%, something like that, possibly up to that 513 point right here, that then we'll actually see supply coming in again with people saying, okay, I actually might want to sell what I produce at this better price than I've been able to do for the last month or so. I think that's what's happening here in the Noxium market. If I'm wrong, of course, we could start to see Noxium take off for some reason. I just don't see any reason for that to happen. Let's move on to the Nullsic ones then. Here is Zydrine. You can see that it had to retrace quite a bit of its gains after the mineral changes. So now we're back down to 1050, something like that. Yeah, 1083 for the sellers, 1040 for the buyers. Still, look at the supply here, 400,000, 3 million, 5 million. Latest order, again going lower for 5.3 million units. The pressure is still on this price. So maybe it is stabilizing. Obviously, you know, it went down quite substantially since August, but there is still more supply than demand coming in for the Zydrine market, and that means that there is still pressure on this price. And I think that it's Megasite that's actually showing that very slow and gradual decline here is still happening. We're breaking 1400 on Megasite, 1393 for the sellers, 1331 for the buyers. The margin is closing, but look at where the big numbers are. It's still on the supply side. Starting here, it's all new. 2 million, 1.5 million, 4.3 million, and another million units. Compare that to the size of the buy orders. the pressure is still here for the Nelsec minerals, and it looks like they need to go a little bit lower yet again before they will actually stabilize. But to me, it looks like all of the mineral market is actually trying to find its price now, trying to look for a stable period. But the Nelsec minerals still have to find that price point where demand will actually start to pick up, so that their oversupply situation gets solved. And for the other minerals, well, it's a little bit of a correction after the very steep increase in price here. Quick touch on morphite, but that one's been staying pretty stable between 11k and 13k. At the moment, we're a little bit on the lower end of the scale here, but let's see if demand 11,450, 11,500. You can see that the margin here has closed quite a bit. There's only one new sell order, so if that one gets chewed through, we could actually go back up a little bit. But I would say that morphite has been very stable, around 12k on average. And it's looking like that's going to continue, but it's also looking like the other minerals could finally show some stability as well. After basically the roller coaster ride all of them have been on after the mineral changes, albeit each in its own way. The high-sec minerals have gone down substantially, then retraced a lot of their losses, and now are on a bit of a correction, but nothing too drastic. And the Nelsec ones have known an increase that was astronomical, 3-4 times the price in a matter of days, and they've actually had to retrace some of those gains lately. So interesting market, but overall I would say that the deciding factor when it comes to the tick one impact of that, which I'll put down as 1135, will have been the increased costs, the increased number of minerals needed to produce stuff. And this is why we're seeing here the Armageddon, for instance, although here it was a little bit of a spike up that is finally ending. The trend over 6 months has been up, but not all too drastically, you know, from 194 to maybe 202 million for a battleship. It's an increase in price, but percentage wise it's nothing too dramatic, and it's perfectly in line, I think, with just basically you need more minerals. You need more, especially Nelsec minerals, to actually make these battleships now than before the changes. So everything here still seems like it's actually pretty healthy, and that miners across all spaces, whether it's Nelsec, high-sec, or high-sec, basically those are the two big markets, can do so with decent impunity, in decent safety, even if it is in Nelsec, because across the board the amount of money you make per hour, I think, is pretty equal, except of course in Nelsec you've got that Rorcal boost that can boost your efficiency by so much compared to high-sec, and that of course they have an advantage there. But yeah, the impact on the Take 1 ships, I don't think it's actually minerals individually or anything like that, or the mineral prices that have changed that much. It's just the need for more minerals to make them. And so let's take a look, for instance, at the Caracal. It's also up from 11 to 12 million on average, but that is not as big an increase, at least in just a straight up amount of money as a battleship. And so the bigger the ship, the bigger the increase in price, and percentage wise I think will always be pretty much close to the same level on all of the ships, probably around 10%, something like that. Here's the Dominics then. Dominics had a little bit of a double spike up to 204 million. We're back down to 196, so there's big supply, 30 of them coming in here, but none of that is that new, so that is pretty interesting. Buyers are at 190, decent margin of almost 10 million is here, and the price actually pulled back. Let's see if for the Armageddon it's actually starting its pullback. Is there decent supply coming in? Yeah, there we go. That's finally the response I was looking for. The Armageddon, there were not that many left, but now here 146 of them coming to the market less than 24 hours ago. Then you've got another 11, another one right here. Competition is starting in the Armageddon market. That's why we're seeing the price start to move back down. For the Dominics, all of that already happened a few days ago, so that's why the price went back down and we're now stabilizing. Here's the Drake then. Definitely you can see that increase in price from 51 to 56 million. Right around 10%. The Drake has some other reasons behind it as well. It was hit by nerfs very hard, so it was at a pretty low point. changes to missiles, other missile mods that have been introduced, and just changes to battle cruisers have made the Drake a little bit more popular once again. But the cost will have had its impact on this as well. Next up here we've got the Mauler. A nice showcase of the stability, but again you can see here in the first half we were dipping below 11 million once in a while. Second half we're obviously staying above that for the majority, and here we actually have an ominous price spike. Let's see if the Maulers were empty. Yep, apparently they were, because you don't see any old sell order older than 2 days, and it's only recently in the last 24 hours that 10 of them have been coming in again. So people noticed this price spike, the opportunity. Someone bought basically the Mauler market out, but now this gap will be filled and we will actually probably normalize towards 12 million decently soon. Here is the Myrmidon chart, starting at 52, going up to 56, 4 million increase, maybe 8%, something like that. It's known some instability lately with a price spike up to 60 million, but overall this is in line with just the increased need of minerals to produce the ship. And maybe some inflation as well, probably plays a factor as well. But did we just come off? No, it's actually been a while since we've had the spike, and by now everything is slowly normalizing. They're still coming in here, but in smaller numbers, 2, 2, 7. You've got 15 and 20 of them, and then 8, 3, 1 are the latest sell orders. So there is decent supply, there is decent demand of these ships as well, and 55, 56 million for a Myrmidon seems to be the new normal price, which again is in line with just a little bit of an increase due to the mineral changes, possibly some inflation, but nothing completely out of the ordinary. This is a healthy Tech 1 market. Next up here we've got the Oracle. This one is a little bit different as well, because it's a tier 3 battle cruiser, which I think the increase in needed minerals has hit those ships a little bit harder than the others. They needed more Zydrine and Megasite, I think. And here we have a little bit of a double spike due to the market being bought out of oracles. It happened here again. We're completely empty. So if you can produce oracles, this is probably the time to do so, because you can get some exceptional prices. And I think I might have said that last week as well, but at some point we'll see the supply come in here again, and then the price will finally normalize for oracles. But this is the obvious opportunity at the moment. I mean, there's none of them left. Buy that last one at 90 million and try to sell oracles above 100 million. Have the volumes dropped off drastically? Not that much, 20, 30 oracles still being bought every day. So I think there's some money here. This is obviously a gap to plug and an opportunity for some industrialists. Next up here we've got the Raven. That one is clearly climbing out of a hole. But again, for the Raven, it's a little bit different. It's just bringing the price in line with other battleships. I think 200 million for a battleship is normal. The Raven was very low for a long time. Now we're just going up there, and we actually see the supply response to the Raven increase in price right here. You can see the recent orders start right here. 4, 4, 5, 12, latest order of 15 for a battleship. That's definitely a decent amount. Volumes are at maybe 30, 40 of them once again. So this should stop the increase in price, and I don't think it's completely abnormal that the Raven went up here, because it's just bringing the Raven in line with the other battleships. Next up we've got the Stabber here. Knew it spike, so what happened to the Stabber last week is what happens to the Mauler at the moment. You can see it spiked up to 13.5 million, but the big numbers here, 62, 23, they're actually making jumps of 300,000 ISK now, so we're already back at 12 million, which is right here on the chart. And I think unless the other gaps cause the industries to not be able to keep filling the gaps, then this will actually normalize towards 11, 10.5 million decently soon, I think. Although it takes a little bit of time for the market to absorb the shock that happened, I think around a month ago, where we did see pretty much the entire Tech 1 market being bought out for some reason. Next up here we've got the Tornado. That one is actually pulling back, so the Tornado is just behind on the Oracle when it comes to the chart and the increase in price that we see right here. And the reason is that we are seeing more supply coming in for the tornadoes that were trying to take advantage of prices close to 80 million. So here we've got 94 of them and a lot of other smaller orders in between them. I think that this is going to happen to the Oracle next. So expect a pullback there, expect the tornado to actually stabilize probably around 74, 75 million, something like that. Next up here we've got the Typhoon, also drastically increasing in price, but again, see where we start, 174 million for a battleship. You can't buy anything close to that anymore at the moment, just normalizing the price. Maybe someone saw that opportunity, bought all of the Typhoons, is now bringing them back closer to what would be a normal price. Maybe the margins have been so much under pressure that people were, well, selling them for a really bad price. But this looks very drastic. This looks like something might be up, but considering that we're still below 200 million for a battleship, I actually don't think that this is anything other than just a normalization of some of the battleships compared to all the other ones and the actual production costs. Next up here we've got the Vexor, which has been decently stable over the course of the last 5-6 months or so. Again, that increase in price here because something happened to the Tech 1 markets where I think alliances or something, maybe a really big group like the Imperium made a move on all of them, increasing the price right here. And we need a little bit of time for this to stabilize, but you could have sold Vexors for 12.5 to 13 million. Let's see if the response has come, and it has. Look at that, 108, 172, 12, 13. That's a lot of Vexors coming to the market in the last day or so. And in the last few days, we still have decent numbers of sell orders here as well. So the pressure is on, the competition is on. It's just that there are a few gaps that still need to be plugged with production. And so it'll take some time for this bump to pass. But I actually think that there's no reason to think that we will not come back to normal prices across the Tech 1 market in general. Next up, Tech 2 markets, 21.55. And let's see if there are some more trade opportunities. Last week was not that great. I did see a few possible buy opportunities, but nothing too great. Here's the Basilisk, still holding well above 185. The buyers are at 181, 187. Pretty small gap, decent numbers on both sides. Honestly, I would not make a move on the Basilisk yet again. Here's the Cerberus though. That is starting to be interesting once again. You can see that we come off a triple spike up to 220, 230 and 230 here again. Now we're dropping back down. Where are the buy orders at? 176, below 180. I do feel that this is a decent buy opportunity. Any volatility in the Cerberus market is going to make for a decent profit on things that you can pick up close to the current buy order prices. So Cerberus, I think that there is some potential there. Next up here we've got the Enyo, after increasing in price, dropping off quite sharply and then coming back up. What are we looking at the moment for Enyos? 23.5 for the sellers, 20 for the buyers. This is a decent margin, honestly. We're talking like 3 million, which is more than 10% just in a straight up margin between buyers and sellers. I just don't think that, considering the volumes for a frigate 25 a day, it's pretty small. I think in the assault frigates it's very hard to actually make trade money at the moment. Next up here we've got the Guardian, lovely spike here. That was a great opportunity to make some money. We are slowly going back down here. We're breaking 135. The buyers are at 130, sellers 133. But again, I would like to see them below 130, maybe buyers closer to 125 or even 120, until I would say, okay, the Guardian is a definite good buy, which at the moment for the Cerberus, it's looking like that's a definite good buy at the moment. So here's the Hound chart. You can see 3 spikes here, taking off at 16 up to 19, 21 million and 19 million. That's the volatility you want to look out for. We are dropping down, but the trigger does seem to be close to a chart at 16 million. So I would say buy orders need to be below that for them to be a definite opportunity, and we're not there just yet. So be a bit patient for the Hound, but it's looking like something is in the making there. Next up here we've got the Ishtar, lovely double spike. That was unexpected in my book. The Ishtar was so popular that I would have thought there would be less volatility here, but from 160 to 175, well, it's just 10%, so it's not that great either, honestly. But there was a double sell opportunity right here. Now we're going back down. Where are the buy orders at the moment? They are at 158, 163, decently small margin. The Ishtar, honestly, I would just not put my money in this at the moment. Also, it's being hit by nerfs, or it was hit by nerfs recently quite a lot, and I'm not sure it's out of the crosshairs just yet, so I'd be careful with my money on this one. Next up here we've got the Manticore. Again, look at the lovely spike up to 32 million. Here we get 26 million, 25 million. That's definitely pretty decent, although the Manticore has been the most expensive covered ups for quite a while. It is definitely dropping back down. Order buy orders, yeah, at 19.6 million. This is starting to be interesting considering the rest of the chart here, because you're buying them well below the entire chart. Could be good as well. Next up here, the Nemesis. That is interesting. That is lovely and interesting, honestly. I would definitely put this in a buy order chart. We are at the low point for 6 months. We are in a volatile drop-off. So someone must have like brought a huge amount of Nemesis to the market all of a sudden. They're still doing so in decent numbers. Buy orders have dropped as low as 16.4 million for a covered ups stealth bomber. Honestly, that is not that bad. 16.4 is below the chart right here, so Nemesis could be good for a longer term investment. I mean, it must be a big supply glut all of a sudden that is causing this sharp drop off in price, but at some point this will come back. As you can see, the normal price is around 19 million for a Nemesis. So Nemesis, interesting, especially the volatility with which this has gone down and the low situation for the buy orders at the moment. Next up here we've got the Oneros, coming off of a lovely spike starting at 140 up to 175. You can see how you can make some money in that one. Where are the buy orders at though? The trigger 140 million, even 135. Where are the buy orders at? 145. That's still too high. If you can pick Oneros up below 140, you're doing a good deal, but it's too early to do that once again. Here's the Purifier. Also dropping off, coming to lows, but you can see we started at 16 million. So unless the buy orders are below 16 million, which they're not yet, and someone is actually willing to buy 56 of them at 16.3, I would say that you still have to wait for the Purifier to find its volatility again. Next up here we've got Scimitar, decent pullback off of a triple spike here with a trigger at 130, even 125 is not outside of the realm of possibilities, but we're back towards 130, so that is pretty good. So let's say 130 to 145, more than 10%, 130 to 155, that's definitely a good deal right there. But are we back in buy order territory? That depends on the buy orders. 127, that is here on the chart. That is not bad considering how few there are here. Decent supply here still for Scimitars. You could risk it, but I would still call it a little bit early considering the first part of the chart here. And then finally the Vengeance, knew some volatility, 19 to 22 million, 3 million increase in price here. That is not so bad. We're pulling back here as well. Okay, the Vengeance is the one assault frigate that does show some potential in the last month or so with this increase in price right here, and then it's pulled back here. Buy orders are 19.2, which is still just above the trigger, but at least you can say that if you keep an eye on the Vengeance, you're not completely wasting your time, because there was a definite opportunity to make some money right here at the start of October. So okay, we'll keep the assault frigates in the list for now because this one actually shows some potential. So we'll see how that works out later on. Next up, Tech 3 markets, 2850. Let us see what we can see here. We know that the Tengu did some crazy stuff last week, so I'll just straight in jump in on that one and take a look at this. So we started at like 150 to 160 for quite a while, then we showed some volatility, huge spike up to 200, and now after a bit of hesitation we're actually coming back down. Currently 182.3 for the sellers, 177 for the buyers, and new supply. There's still, well, not that much honestly, 2112 right here. A day ago there was quite a few of them, 2 days ago as well. So there is decent supply, there is pressure on the price, but we're not seeing the 30, 40, 50 Tengus coming in at 182. So it's a slow decline, and it does look like the Tengu will actually be able to maintain a higher price for quite a bit. And the reason behind that, I think, is that the new tactical destroyers are taking away a lot of the industrial potential that would use to put huge pressure on the prices of tactical cruisers. Now it's just a lot slower to respond. There's a bigger market to fill, and this is why we're actually seeing higher prices for them. Next up here, we'll take a look at the Proteus, clearly also coming back down from its spike at 180 once again. So 173 for the buyers, 182 for the sellers. Yeah, very similar in place where they are for the Protei compared to the Tengu. What's the supply looking like? That's a lot of supply coming in less than a day ago though. So here people probably made a move on the Proteus because they could go as high as 220. That's why the correction is going to be a bit more violent here, but looks like they're actually settling at around 180. Next up here we've got the Loki, again very similar. Where are we settling? Below 180. And supply wise, not that much that new. So people do recognize when there is a better tactical cruiser to sell to. Here you've got just a few recent orders. 20 of them is still quite big, but yeah, the opportunity lie with the Proteus, which is still at 182, and then the Tengu at 182 as well is still slowly filling up. I would say people are probably gonna move Tengus next to bring it to the market, and the Loki could just basically stop decreasing in price right here. As you can see at the tail end, it is doing so. But around 180 seems to be the price. And then finally for the cruisers, we've got the Legion here, very similar, up to 220, back down to 180, and already hesitating to go back up. 192 for the sellers, 175 for the buyers. So your best opportunity lies in the Legion, and you can see that a lot of people think like that as well. 25, 5, 5, 8, 8, 3, and another 10 coming in less than 5 minutes ago, trying to sell at 192 for a strategic cruiser, which is probably the best price you can get at the moment. So most production will probably go to the Legion, the Tengu after that, and if anything could be bought out and make another jump back up, it could be the Loki at the moment. But 180 million for strategic cruisers across the board. It's been quite a while since we've seen that. And of course the guilty party for that are these tactical destroyers. So here again 54 million. They went up in price. They're also ships that need to be produced, that take away from the cruiser production, and I think that, yeah, that makes them actually very good for the Tech 3 economy, which was in very dire straits before the tactical destroyers came out. Supply wise though, look at that, 166, 30, 93. These are apparently pretty easy to make in really big numbers, and so yeah, that will put some pressure on the price at around 55 million for a tactical destroyer. Next up here we've got the Hecate, which is settling at around 50 to 55 once again. Supply numbers 82, 35, 61, 54. Huge supply of these ships. I'm really surprised that they've managed to increase in price despite the big numbers that we keep seeing here. So they must be very popular in usage as well. Next up here we've got the Jackdaw. Again, look at that, 23, 59, 15, 50, 12. Those are pretty big supply numbers, and the Jackdaw settling at around 50 million. And then finally we get the Zweepel, which went as high as 58 million. It's actually at a pretty high point. Supply dried up a little bit, but look at the response, 235, 201, less than 2 hours ago. Those are way bigger than all of the other ones, so the pressure will be on for the Zweepel. But it also looks like yeah, the industrial backbone of Tech 3 stuff can no longer just straight up put so much on the market that it will never be bought out because of the tactical destroyers, and so they need to actually look at what to produce, what to bring to the market when, and they have opportunities to sell at much better margins, and so they're actually doing that. You're seeing a little bit of that on the Tech 1 market as well, where we had that big volatility, where a lot of the ships were pretty much bought out just like around a month ago, I think, at this point here, and that it takes some time for the industrials to plug all of the gaps to bring everything back in line, but that means great opportunities to produce stuff and to sell them at a nice premium. So this is of course a double-edged sword. Not everyone will want an end to this volatility either, although I'd say overall the Tech 1 market is still the one with the least volatility. And then finally, the extra product. I'm actually going to take a look at some skins. Let's make that 36 minutes. The reason for that is, well, I'm curious. We had this Blood Raider skin that was brought into the game for the first time, a permanent skin, and it made me a little bit curious about what some of the other skins were doing. I would say I would stick to probably some of the bigger ships here. And oh, yeah, these are actually pretty new, some of them. Oh, Abaddon Blood Raider skin started at around 14 million first data point, but now you can actually buy that one for 3.8 million, 3 million right here. I mean, there's so many of them, of these sites, that well, you can pretty much give everyone a skin. I think that's why they're pretty much worthless. But it's a fun little addition in the that CCP did here, because of the event that is tied around the Halloween, the plex sale, and all of that. I like this. I like the idea. It rewards people that actively play the game during this period, so why the hell not? And it actually keeps this skin accessible to anyone else too, which is of course the nature of the sandbox. Well, probably these skins will no longer be producible after the event, and so then they could start increasing in price. If you're a savvy investor and you think that that's going to happen, this might be something again worth looking at, but honestly they're really not worth that much. It's a permanent skin as well, so I don't think that they will actually increase in price that much. Let's take a look here, for instance, at the Abaddon Ghidorah skin. 60 million. I feel that that's actually pretty affordable for a permanent skin. Maybe I should go for the 1 year chart. No, it's actually just 6 months ago when they were launched. They started extremely high, 240 million, something like that, but then they actually dropped off quite substantially and now settling at 60 million. I feel that that's quite okay. Similar story here for the Tashmir Khan edition, 50-60 million for a battleship skin. That's not too bad. Artisha Poor is doing some weird stuff. That's a weird chart. Market data, well, they're selling for 250, so some of the more unique skins, I would say, are a bit more expensive. Let's see, an Apocalypse Ghidorah again. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, that's obviously going to be a limited edition skin, this one. Garnet skin. Whoa, Apocalypse Garnet skin going for 1.7 billion. So not all of them are that accessible, and this is pretty damn expensive. I mean, that's more than a plex. Apocalypse Tashmir Khan edition, we're talking $1 billion for the sellers. Not a lot of people actually bring those to the market at the moment, and I guess the only way to actually get them is through real money transactions, or like Plex and Aurum. So yeah, some of these are pretty expensive as well. 635 million, which would be half a Plex, which would be probably $7 or something like that. Well, honestly, for a battleship skin, that feels quite decent in price, but this is all tied to the Aurum and the Plex prices, I guess. Let's maybe quickly look at something smaller, go for standard cruisers. Maybe we'll check out Galente here. 250 for a Celestis Intaki skin. Here's an Interbus skin, 400. Yeah, it's a little bit less than a battleship skin, so you would need to pay a little bit less money converted to real life money for these, but it's still, whenever they're not like available due to the past, I think. Here, for instance, Thorax Aliastra skin, which could have been bought in past, you only pay 30 million for that, but if they're only available through Aurum, then they are quite pricey to actually buy in ISK. Quave skin, nothing available. Interesting. Intaki skin here, 450 million, something like that. I mean, that's a decent price for just a cruiser skin. But yeah, all of that is tied to the real money. And I guess I'll quickly check if they're actually dropping off a little bit. Yeah, the Caldari actually have some really recent skins, so they're not that good to check out. That's not a drop-off, neither is this, neither is this. So the plex sale doesn't really seem to have trickled in on the skin sales just yet. Interesting, pretty interesting, but yeah, it's all pretty anecdotal. What I could maybe look for, capital skins. Let's go for carriers, for instance. That should be decently accessible, and yet you might want to pimp out your carrier. Let's see what some of the volumes are here. Well, not that much. They're not being traded that much. As you can see, well, recently a couple of them bring the price back down, but we're still talking quite a few billion just for a skin of a carrier. And the volumes, well, here and there, honestly, look at that. They are being bought from time to time as well. I mean, at first you had a bit of a rush on a few of them, but yeah, it's still happening. So that does mean that they are still selling over time as well, and that it's not completely drying up or anything like that. Could be an indication that they're actually doing decently well. Let's maybe look at some of these volumes here as well, if I can find some of the more expensive ones. Yeah, a couple being sold here and there. Here, Dominic's Quave edition skin, that one is actually being traded decently actively. Aliastra skin also, yeah, you still see volumes at almost every data point. So the battleships seem to have, except for a couple of them of course, seem to have like decent volumes behind them. Let's see, except for the Minmatar, they don't seem to be that popular for some reason. Of course, a lot of them are pretty recent. Here we get the Maelstrom, but that's of course one of those pretty cheap ones. Yeah, the skin market, honestly, it's a bit of a weird one. I do like the fact that CCP has brought this to bring some customization to it. What I'm hoping is that the monetization model here is successful. They are a part of the increase in price in plexes as well. What I would like to see personally are some hard numbers from CCP. How much revenue are they getting from this? How popular are the skins? What type of skins are the most popular? Hopefully at eVegas, if there is like an economic breakdown, we get some numbers on this, because I think it's pretty important one to keep at the back of your mind when it comes to the plex prices, when it comes to the health of the EVE Online economy, the player base and all of that good stuff. If there's anything that's going to help us keep an eye on that and maybe give us a little bit of information when it comes to all of that, then it would be the skins, the aura market, the plex market. And so yeah, it's one that I maybe should keep a closer eye on than I've been doing in the last few months or so, because it is, I think, still a pretty interesting one when it comes to just general information about the game's situation. Anyways, that's it for this EVE Talk then, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.